I want to buy my first short-term rental. What should I know? In the last 2 to 3 years, we've seen short-term rentals become the buzzword. Everybody from private institutional money all the way to the small multifamily guys, everybody was just hearing about Airbnb, how to invest, and they were trying to find deals. And a lot of people didn't realize all of the time commitment that comes with owning a short-term rental. So whenever I go out to dinner, whenever I see my DMs, a lot of people ask me these questions. So I figured I would do a breakdown today, answering the questions, what a typical day in my life looks like, and where I find deals, how I grow my team, and how I analyze deals. So if you can get those 3 things down, you're usually pretty good, and I'll share some tips as well. I will move to doing a screen share on here, so it makes it a little bit easier to talk about kind of my ideas, what I'm thinking, what I think would work well. And then if you guys have any other questions apart from the ones I answered, drop me a comment below or send me a DM on Twitter/X, and I'd be happy to make another video to answer any follow-up questions. All right, guys, let's go. So the number one thing most people don't understand about short-term rentals is it's nothing like long-term rental. In long-term rentals, and I don't have any, but from what I hear from all other investors, in long-term rentals, once you have a tenant placed into your property, usually things are pretty passive. Like, unless something goes drastically wrong and they hopefully pay their rent every single month, you're done. Short-term rentals are nothing like that. They do require a higher time commitment. However, you can automate about a good 90 to 95% of it if you use the right tech stack and if you have the right on the grounds team. So for 5 to 10% more work, you are making some significantly higher returns. So more money, a little bit more work is kind of the equation I like to look at. The other thing you have to know and understand about short-term rentals is this is a hospitality business. There's no two ways about it. We are in the hospitality game, so when our guests come into our property, they expect kind of hotel level, Airbnb level kind of service. Now, a lot of that can be automated if you have great cleaners, if your review messages are going out, and you can kind of delegate a lot of that if you're looking to self-manage, or you can hire a property management company or a co-host. There's so many options out there. So in short-term rentals, you can essentially choose, maybe I want to self-manage, but if you don't like it, there's so many other options you can outsource and kind of give that part out. So I don't want you guys to know that going in, because a lot of people kind of freak out saying it's gonna be so much work, and it can be, again, if you're not systemized. The other thing I absolutely love about short-term rentals is you can do it from anywhere in the country or anywhere in the world. Now, if it's anywhere in the world, and so you're operating in the US, but you live in Argentina, there could be a time difference component you have to keep in mind. But if not, it really can be done anywhere, especially in the US. So what are the top 5 things most people get wrong when they kind of are getting started in short-term rentals? So number one thing I like to point, and it's not like a 1 through 5 list, just like the 5 things that come to my mind. But the number one thing I can think of is I typically recommend you do not rehab if you are doing a far away reno. So say you live in California, you want to buy a property in New York. I do not recommend you rehab if this is your first real estate deal. The reason I don't recommend you do it is rehab is a whole different beast and it requires a whole different skill set. And to add that to the fact that you do it from far away, it just makes the process so much more complex, and you're trying to short-term rent. Like, it's just like all these layers added on top of each other, so it makes it more complicated. For me personally, my very first deal, I actually bought a deal that was 2 hours away from me, and I actually did do a rehab on it. And it took me 8 months. I thought it would take me 2. We were way over budget, and I didn't know if it would work. So honestly, like, I was like, I hope this works. And we're blessed, like, it really did work. But it's not a risk I recommend you take. What I do recommend you do is find a property that has some good bones, there's some potential, and you can add things to it. For example, if you buy a property that has 4 bedrooms and 4 bathrooms, you could add a game room, like you get a pool table or a hot tub. Like, you can add amenities to make the property nice, but you're not like doing a gut rehab down to the studs kind of thing. That's just my thoughts kind of on the whole process. And that, number 2, I only like to invest in vacation markets. So what do I mean by vacation markets? So no matter where you live, if you ask most locals or people who've lived in the area for a long time, ask them like, where did they go on a weekend? So most people, if you ask them if they live in LA, they'll maybe go to Big Bear Lake, Joshua Tree. If you ask people in North Carolina, they may say they go up to the mountains. So these are what I call vacation markets. I specifically only invest in vacation markets, and I have two main reasons for doing it. The number one reason I like to do vacation markets is because I think the government and the counties want this business because they rely on tourism dollars. So they're a lot more open to having short-term rental investors in that market. The second reason I like it is it's so much easier to build a team because everyone there knows about vacation rentals. Like they've seen them around, they've grown up with it, they understand that, hey, the owner may not be here. So I think it's so much easier to build a team. I personally don't invest in any other market. I don't typically invest in the city just because I think there's so many other factors at play. There's so many hotels have big lobbies in cities and with the mayor. So I just don't want to be in all of that. I like to be in vacation markets. So if you're struggling to find, like, I don't know if my market's a vacation market, if it's not, literally just find so say you are in LA, just ask locals, like, hey, where do you go on a random weekend? Like, it's basically like an hour to 3 to 5 hours driving distance, kind of like radius. Now, you, of course, if say you live in LA and you want to invest out in Texas, just call up somebody in Dallas and go like, hey, where do you guys go vacation? And most people in Dallas will tell you they probably go to Broken Bow, or they maybe go down to New Braunfels. So these are some markets that locals know and you don't hear on a big scale. Like this isn't going to like Hawaii, it's not going to New York. These are really small kind of regional markets, which is why I prefer to invest. My number 3 tip is learn to analyze a property. I'll be dropping a lot of videos in the next upcoming weeks about how I analyze, how I run my numbers, how I find comps, but you've really got to learn how to analyze. Now, if you're super new, there are some resources that you can use. Data Reboot is a really good one, and you can also use AirDNA, and all you do is copy the property's address, put that in there, and then put how many bedrooms, bathrooms it's got, and it'll give you a revenue potential. Now, as always, you want to do your own research. I like to blend all of that data into like an Excel sheet, and then what I'll do is literally go to Airbnb, find the town I want to invest in, and start opening up listings that are what I bought. So if I buy like a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home, I'll literally put like, hey, in Airbnb, I'm bringing 6 guests, I need a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom property. I look at all the comps and I start opening them up, and then I start looking at their calendar, their listing description, their photos. Are they booked? Are they not booked? How are their amenities? Do they have hot tubs? Do they have a pool? What's working? What's not working? I like deep dive into the property. And then I try to figure out like how much money could they possibly be making if they're renting for $200 and it's 60% booked. But you've got to learn to analyze. The other good thing I really like about this kind of approach is it teaches you about the market, it teaches you about other investors. Another thing I really like to do is I reach out to local property management companies, so the Vicasas and Evolves of the world, and I go, hey, I'm looking at this market, and here's the property I'm kind of eyeing. What do you guys think? How much do you think this property could make? And they're usually pretty good and will give you at least a rough estimate about what they think that property could make. And then I also like to talk to smaller property management companies because it tends to be that the smaller property management company guys outperform the bigger ones. I'm not saying that's a guarantee. It's just like if you have a smaller portfolio, you can keep a closer eye on it, so you tend to do a little bit better. So I kind of like to reach out to everybody and kind of get all of my data points and then start working backwards. The one thing you want to know is if you are running AirDNA numbers. AirDNA does include cleaning fee and taxes, so their numbers can look a little bit inflated, whereas if you're looking at Reboot, they don't have cleaning fees or taxes. So you just have to make sure that the data sets you're looking at is basically equal to each other. My 4th tip, I like lost count of the numbers, guys, but I think my 4th tip is know how to build a local team. So if you want to invest in an area that's, maybe 3 hours away from you, maybe a state away from you, you've got to have local contacts. So if, for example, say the toilet in your house breaks and you're not a plumber and you're not a handy person, like what do? You're gonna call a plumbing company, they're gonna come out, they're gonna fix it, it's gonna cost you a little bit of money. This is exactly what we do when we manage from afar. And it's really crucial you have a really great on the grounds team. So Like I mentioned before, I invest in vacation markets. So when I do that, most plumbers there, most electricians, most cleaning people, they already know that like, hey, the owner's not there. So when I call them, they're like, hey, what's your door code? Like, I just need an automatic door code to get in, to get out. I'll send you photos. Like, they get it, which is the benefit of investing in markets like this. A lot of my cleaning crew knows that, hey, this is a vacation rental, so I don't need to teach them about like, hey, you've got to open the cabinets every time and check all the plates. They already know that. I may go in and like tell them I need specific things done for my property, but usually they know. And they're also a really great resource to find like handyman, contractors. I've gotten to the point at this point, I will literally find the cleaning team first and then ask them, hey, do you have a plumber? I need a hot tub put in here. Do you have like a handyman, a contractor, somebody who can build me a deck? And they start referring me to a whole bunch of other people. The other people I like to kind of reach out to are other investors in that area who are doing what I want to do. And so these will be short-term rental investors who maybe bought a property out there, and I'll find them on Facebook. So say you want to invest in Joshua Tree in California. If you literally go to Facebook and type in Joshua Tree Facebook group, you will find, Joshua Tree Airbnb Facebook group, you'll find lots of people who are like, hey, I have a property in Joshua Tree, here's my cleaning person, here's my handyman, and then I'll usually private message the investor and be like, hey, how was your cleaning company? Can you help me out? And of course, when they need something, I'm more than happy to be a resource as well. So you always want to make sure you're getting information from other people, but when they need you, you're also sharing all of your contact information, because when we share information, we all grow as a community and we can be better hosts. So that's really important. Number 5. If you are choosing to self-manage, you have got to have a killer software stack. I will do a detailed video about all of my tech stack and kind of what all it encompasses. But until then, there's lots of resources online that you can use. If you are just planning on going with 1 or 2 properties, you can list it straight on Airbnb. Just have the app on your phone. Now, at this point, a lot of people ask me, Rashmi, is this going to take up my whole life? Like, how busy do I have to be? And honestly, if you have the right systems and you're dialed in, it is not going to take over your life. However, it is not passive, and I can't stand it when other people tell you, oh, my Airbnb is so passive. No, it is not. You're in the hospitality business. There are things you can do to make it more passive, I guess, or less stressful, but it does require more work than probably any other asset class out there. So the way I like to kind of structure my whole tech stack is I like to make sure they're on my app. So if I'm at work, I can just kind of see. I mean, I don't work unless I do this, but you get what I'm trying to say. You can at least respond, especially if you get an inquiry, if you get a booking, that kind of stuff. Now, if you're a career that demands that you not be by your phone, like you're really intense, I definitely recommend hiring a property manager or a co-host that can handle a lot of that workload off for you. And at that point, you can try it to make it a little bit more passive for you. So it just kind of depends how much time you have and what you're willing to do and how you want to grow your portfolio. Like I mentioned, I will be doing a whole other video breaking down all of my apps, what I use. So if you guys have any questions till then, drop me a comment below or send me a DM and I'll go ahead and do another video. Thanks for watching, you guys.